Hello, everybody, and welcome to season 2 of the To Be a Boy podcast. How are
Welcome
you?
back. Season 2, baby. We made it for a whole season and we're back.
We've survived a whole season. You all seem to be loving it, and we are loving it. I am loving it. Are you loving it?
I am loving it. I mean, when we started this podcast, obviously we thought it would be a good idea, clearly. But yeah, thank you so much. Like, the feedback has been incredible. Really, really incredible. It seems like it's really helping people, informing people, and I'm enjoying it. I'm loving it. Like, it's really fun. It's really, really fun.
Yeah. And it's not only fun, but it's teaching us stuff that is so invaluable. So I feel like it's giving me a little manual for how to actually parent my 2 boys, which is brilliant. And, you know, I've got to say a big thank you to Stephen Graham and Jack Thorne for giving us a marketing boost halfway through the podcast. That was so good of them to make that program, just to ensure that people suddenly started thinking, what about boys?
Yeah. I mean, the timing couldn't have been better.
Yeah.
I feel like we launched at just the right time. If we launched after, it would have been like, oh, you're just doing this because Adolescence came out.
Yeah.
And the world started talking about boys. It was like, oh, here we are.
Yeah.
Here's our podcast about boys.
So tell me, Elliott, I'm really interested to hear. By the way, Elliott's a little bit hungover today. It was his birthday yesterday. He's a little bit rough around the edges.
Yesterday. And you know, as we progress into our more mature years, drinking all day on a Wednesday is great. But the next day when you wake up, you know, paracetamol is my best friend today. And a lot of water. But I had an amazing birthday. Champagne breakfast at 10:19, sitting outside in the sun. Incredible. And they went to a Turkish restaurant with the rest of the family.
Well, I'm sure we're all wishing you a happy birthday, but also you're my hero. I can't believe you're actually functioning today after a full day of drinking. I'd be out for days.
Yeah.
So give us a bit of a lowdown of what you think you've learned from season 1 of the podcast.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this. There's a few things. So the first one that really has stuck with me is Anike Hutunbos from the NSPCC.
Yeah.
In our adolescent special episode, she said something which just resonated so much. She said, you have to insert yourself into your child's online life. Mm-hmm. It's just so powerful, you know. It just tells us we have to be part of that world. And I think I've tried to do it. It's tough. It's really tough.
Yeah.
Because it means you have to consistently do it every day on a Saturday when you're a bit tired.
And how are you doing it? What are you doing?
Not very well, if I'm completely honest. Like, I have good days and bad days. Like, days where I'm on it and I'm like, no, laptop downstairs. What are you doing? Boundaries. Get off it at 7 p.m. Other days where it's a Saturday and it's raining outside and I just want to chill out.
Yeah.
And she's in her room and she's content and I'm resting, watching the football, and she's doing whatever. And like 3 hours later, I'm like, shit, actually, that was not a good idea. So it's hard, you know. I think it's a good reminder. But also the reality is that it's bloody difficult to do it all the time. And it just takes real persistence.
Yeah. I mean, after doing that episode, I banned screens from bedrooms and said no more. And my eldest has slowly tried to migrate back into his bedroom as best he possibly can. I've managed to stick to that boundary. But I did have an incident actually this morning where my eldest son was watching YouTube Shorts, which I hate, just to clarify. I cannot bear YouTube
It's
Shorts.
Basically TikTok, right?
It's TikTok. And I don't like them on TikTok, but for some reason, I've not allowed it. I told them it was banned, but I know they watch it and I don't know anything about it. So he's watching YouTube Shorts this morning. This video came on where it was a voiceover and a woman playing football and a young boy playing football. And the voiceover said, this is a professional female football player playing against an amateur 9-year-old boy. And as you can see, the amateur 9-year-old boy is better at playing football than the professional female football player. And that is why the gender pay gap is not big enough.
Wow.
And I heard this and went, my God, what are you watching? And obviously completely lost my shit. Rather than dealing with it in a really calm, collected way, I was furious and livid, mainly because I was cross with myself that I've allowed him to watch this chewing gum for his brain and then was really exposed to some of the messaging that he's getting from that. So we obviously had a very heated argument, and I told him that he's never watching YouTube again. And then he left for school, and I'll have to do some making up when he gets back. But it really was a wake-up call of some of the stuff that they're just being thrown at them all the time.
And you know what it is? It just takes you by surprise.
Yeah.
It's like literally you could just be chilling, right? The day's going okay, you have plans, and then all of a sudden something just random like that pops up, and you're thinking, like, that's not what I was planning to do today. Like, how did that enter my world? But that's the internet, is that you can't necessarily control what's going to pop up, right? It's just the next video, the next video, the next video.
Yeah.
And that conversation you said there reminds me of, there was a big debate about, as a man, could you beat Serena Williams at tennis? And it's like, you can't fucking beat Serena Williams at tennis.
Of course you can't.
Like, actual conversation amongst men of like, oh, maybe you could because you're a man. And it's like, she is like world class, one of the best ever tennis players ever.
Yeah.
But the conversation, the fact that like that conversation was actually a thing, I think just shows like a lot of the conversation we had a bit about in this podcast, how, you know, we as parents overestimate our boys' IQ, for example. We build boys up. We assume boys and men are going to be better and stronger, etc. Not saying we shouldn't build our boys up, but not to the detriment of women and girls. And so, yeah, I completely hear you. It can be really difficult to just monitor what they're watching online and make sure it's healthy. So what about you? What else have you took from season 1?
I mean, well, that coupled with Lenore Skenazy, of course, who we both loved, who a quote that she said that really resonated with me was, all the worry in the world won't prevent death, it will prevent life. And that coupled with a quote from Jonathan Haidt, actually, who hasn't been on the podcast, but who Lenore works closely with, where he said, we're over managing our children in the real world and under managing them in the online world. They both really stuck with me. And so since doing season 1 and absorbing all of this information from experts, I have tried to limit the screen time that my kids have, ask them more questions about what they're watching, extract them from their bedroom so I have more opportunity to see what it is that they're engaging with. But I'm also doing a lot more active socializing with them and encouraging socializing. And actually that's it's not easy, because when I was younger, and blue-haired Sarah, the therapist, said this as well on the adolescence episode. When I was younger, every evening you were around at a friend's house for tea. You'd go around, have tea, have a play date. And there's a lot less of that now. And so the only way that you can ensure that your kids are really socializing more is by you coordinating it and you hosting it. So I'm finding there are a lot more kids around in my house. I'm like the little old woman that lived in a shoe. I'm like,
there's kids everywhere.
They're everywhere. And that is joyous and sometimes a massive pain in the ass. But I just want I want my kids to have more time with other kids as much as possible. And so I'm doing all the work to try and ensure that that's a reality.
Yeah, Lenore episode literally changed the way I parent. And I think my eldest, one thing she's probably the most happy about that we're doing this podcast is that we had Lenore as a guest. It's opened up her world. It's opened up her world to the point where, you know, I've said it before, I'm letting her walk to school. I drop her outside round the corner, she'll walk to school. Or if we go to the park, she'll take a different route and walk home by herself. She's 9 years old. And now, the other day, we went to Starbucks, and there's 3 of us. It's her and my youngest, so 3 of us in the queue. And she wants this strawberry drink. So I said to her, like, I want that drink too. Can you order one for me? I'm going to go and sit down while you order the drink. And she starts panicking. Oh, it's too big of an order. It's too complicated. You know, I'm 9 years old. I'm like, you've got this. It's fine. You can do it. So she goes up. I sit down and I can see her ordering and talking and looking over at me for approval. And she orders a drink, and she orders 2. And she gives them their name, and she sits down and she goes to get the drink. And I thought, that's it. This is it. Like, you can have this conversation with an adult. You can go into the complexities of what you want for your order, and you can do this. And this is actually the skills that you're going to need for life. And that is all thank you to Lenore. So Lenore has literally given my kid more freedom. It's changed the way I parent. If you haven't listened to that episode, go back. You have to listen to that episode.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah,
You
thank
have to.
you, Lenore. I mean, Max Dickens touched on this a bit as well when he said when he was younger, when his parents would have friends over for dinner, he and his sister were expected to go around and take the orders of the adults and deliver them their food and deliver them their drinks. And they never complained about it because it was just that's what you did. And it built skills in them to be able to talk to adults and have adult conversation. And I can't, but he was saying that and I was thinking, I cannot imagine trying to get my kids to go around and serve drinks to a bunch of adults or like ask them what it is that they want. So I feel like I do sometimes feel like with kids now, we what's the right word? I feel like our expectations of them but sometimes are not high enough of what they're able to do.
100%. I mean, that Starbucks story right there. I know she can do that. I know she can have that conversation. She's capable of doing that. Like literally, she gives me enough stick every day at home.
Yeah,
Like, come
exactly.
on.
Yeah,
Like
let
I
her
know
give
you're
it
witty.
to somebody else. Yeah.
Exactly. Keep the energy. If you're gonna give it to me at home and try and debate me about these big issues way above your age, and you're gonna back chat about what you don't do or don't want for dinner, and you've got all these smart things to say in the home, you can 100% do that in Starbucks, right? Like you need to be able to keep the same energy when you're outside, and that's all I want. Is I want her and them to be able to just function and have adult conversation and be confident and express themselves and be able to just articulate themselves with different human beings. And that is what I think Lenore taught us. Another thing that has stuck with me, the conversation with Movember, and this has come up quite a few times, just around the issue around role models, and everyone's trying to find them. And I think Sarah said in that episode that role models in our community are really important, like the football coach, the person that leads the youth work at church.
Yeah.
You know, those community leaders are really key when it comes to male role models. And I think sometimes we're looking for the celebrity or we're looking for the online influencer. And don't get me wrong, those things can be good too. But just going back to community, going back to who's in our life, who's around us. And I think that's kind of harder to do. It means effort and it means engaging with people in the real world and in real life and trying to, as you were saying with your kids, like curate their environment a little bit more. But I genuinely think that we're missing that. And I've just been thinking so much about, I guess, what we need to do as a society, but more so individually to create that around ourselves. So that's really started out with me.
I think men as well need to step up a bit more in that respect. You know, like my partner is a football coach and he didn't want to ever be a football coach. He just was left with the situation where our youngest either didn't get to play football or he stepped up and had to be the coach for the whole team. And so he did step up. And actually, he would say he's got more out of it than our son has because he gets to hang out with other men who he likes, talks about football, but also has this opportunity to bond with other men that he wouldn't otherwise have an opportunity to bond with. And they go to the pub and they drink beer and they talk about teams. And it's a completely different world to his work. And it is so good for him. But also he feels such a sense of responsibility now for those kids. And he knows that for some of them, football is their only structure. And without it, they would feel at sea. And so that, you know, of course, that makes him feel good. So I think, you know, I would encourage any men listening to this to be that community leader because you'll get a lot out of it. And on that as well, an episode that really stood out for me was with Alex Holmes. And listening, I didn't say very much during that episode because it was such a privilege to sit and listen to the two of you, alpha male, heterosexual men, big men, talk about loneliness and depression and mental health in men. And I don't think that happens enough, where you so candidly, and it was so raw, talked about your experiences so beautifully. And I know that male friends of mine messaged me after that episode and said how much
Wow.
it meant to them to hear you both talk about that. So, I mean, that coupled with the fact that Alex Holmes's voice, my word, that baritone voice. I mean, he could make a lot of money on the phone lines. That's all I'm saying.
Only fans, Alex. Only fans. Get on there. And when you say big, he is big. He's like 6'2". I'm quite a tall man. He's a big guy. No, that was a special episode. And yeah, it's just really amazing. I think that the idea that men don't talk, but then when they do, it's emotional, like so emotional. I've been in so many conversations with men, and when they're able to just be honest about their experiences, it's a really kind of and it shouldn't be a unique experience, but it is. But it's a really emotional, sensitive kind of time where you probably feel the most alive, I think, because
Yeah.
you're connecting on a different level other than the surface, the logic, the competition, the kind of what next. It's a different kind of level that you're accessing, which I think a lot of men don't get there very often. So it's when you do, it's really special. And I think Alex is one of those people that has always done that in every interaction, and he's just
It
real,
goes
and he
deep.
brings it himself, and he doesn't
Yeah.
try to. One thing I liked about the Alex episode is that he wasn't trying to come on here and like be his best self or sell anything, or he was like, this is who I am,
Yeah.
take me as I am today.
Yeah.
And I think what he did in that episode was not just talk about the fact that men need to be vulnerable and open, he just was it. And I think that is rare. Sometimes you get people who will come along and say the right things, but actually they're maybe not being that. And I think
Mm.
Alex is a good example of someone who just is that. Like, he is what he talks about every day. It's lovely to hear that you had like loads of men messaging, which is lovely. Sarah said something. So that's blue-haired Sarah, the therapist on the adolescence episode. She spoke about the fact that if you're listening to this podcast, then you're probably doing good. You're probably doing okay.
Yeah.
And that message stood out for me because like a lot of that we talk about, it's quite like there's a lot of doom, right? There's a lot of like the world's going to shit, we're all in trouble, it's going to end, boys are in trouble, girls are in trouble, and it's really easy to be negative about everything and feel like there's nothing we can do. And I just love that, the fact that she said, if you're here, if you're interested, if you're listening, if you're dedicating some of your time when you could be doing anything else to actually trying to inform and listen, then you're probably doing a really, really good job. And for the most part, that's all that is necessary. Like, we don't have to be perfect parents. Actually, being good most of the time is probably okay. And there's some room around the edges to get it wrong. And our children are still going to work out to be fully grown, healthy people. I really like that. And that kind of gave me, and I think hopefully a lot of other people, like a sense of actually, yeah, we're doing all
Yeah.
right.
I mean, that coupled with what Conrad and James said around the fact that their research has shown how kind and thoughtful and intelligent and fun this generation of kids are, and that the press and media are obviously trying to sell papers, so they're making everything sound terrifying, and that the reality is it's not actually. Yes, there are some things we need to be on the lookout for that are new, but the vast majority of children and kids are doing really well and are really happy, contented kids. And I found that enormously comforting, because you do sometimes get sucked into this narrative that, well, it's something that Richard Reeves said recently in an article, the author of Boys and Men. He said we seem to be more interested in the trouble that boys are causing rather than the trouble that boys are in. And we do seem, all I've seen in the press is this fear mongering around boys, that they're going to just cause problems for everybody, when that isn't the case. And actually, we should be more interested in the challenges that boys are facing and thinking about how our generation can help them solve those problems, rather than beating them over the head with a stick constantly.
Yeah. And I think what I'm really proud of is I think we're getting that balance right, reflecting some of the real outcomes around violence against women and girls and misogyny. That's the reality. And, we don't shy away from that. That exists, and we need to talk about that. And there needs to be accountability around that, definitely. But at the same time, also reflecting that boys are in trouble. Some boys are in trouble, not all, but a lot of boys are in trouble. And they are at risk of harming themselves. And that's a real conversation. And those two things can exist at the same time. And we can hold those two truths at the same time. And I think it's really, really, really important to do that.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to Amy Lang.
Oh,
The birds and the bees.
bloody love Amy Lang.
I to be honest, I was surprised by the feedback.
Yeah.
Like, you guys want to talk about sex. Like, you guys want to talk about the birds and the bees. I hold my hands up. I wasn't aware how much, but we need to do more stuff around sex, like, and how to talk to your kids about sex, because the amount of messages I had were like, oh my gosh, thank you. There was so much I took from that episode. It's clearly something that parents have been struggling with forever.
Yeah.
But I think maybe in the new world where young people do have access to information and lots of information and porn and messaging and stuff like that, it's maybe even more so important for us to get ahead of it. So the Amy Lang episode and the stuff that she spoke about in regards to how to have the conversation, big up Amy Lang. We're definitely going to talk more about sex.
I think people were also, certainly for me, surprised at how young you meant to start and the content of that conversation. And I'm really candid about sex. I grew up with, my mum was very open with me about it. So I have no qualms talking about it. But even I took from it, wow, there is some stuff that I really need to be addressing that I felt needs to wait until later. So oral sex, talking about what oral sex is something I have now addressed with my eldest son. Wasn't the easiest conversation, I'll be honest. I mean, it was kind of hilarious. I've told a number of my friends what happened and laughed about it a lot. But I mean, you need to be having this conversation with them before they go to secondary school, because if you don't have it with them before they go to secondary school, you can guarantee they'll either get a video or they'll be told by somebody else what oral sex is.
Yeah, no, season 1 has been incredible. So thank you so much. We've learned so much. We've had a laugh, and we're excited about the incredible guests we're going to get into season 2 and the conversations we're going to have. Should we go into a bit of the feedback?
Yeah,
there's some feedback I want to read. So we've had loads of emails. Thank you so much to everyone that's been emailing in. There's one guy. His name's Rick. Not Slick Rick Beasley. And I'm going to read a little bit of his email. He says, "Dear Joeli and Elliott, I wanted to thank you so much for making this podcast. My sister-in-law sent me the link as she thought I'd like it, and she was right. For someone who doesn't listen to many podcasts, let alone binge them, I ended up listening to all 3 episodes in one day." Wow, Richard, that's a lot of listening.
Good work, Richard.
You and your guests gave so much helpful, insightful comments and kind words, which were much needed, and I'm really looking forward to hearing more. I'm a stay-at-home dad, and I've been for nearly 15 years while my wife works. Both my children were born in Hong Kong, and we lived there until we moved back to London in 2020. It can be lonely for anyone as a stay-at-home parent, especially on the other side of the world, and I've often had a negative view of that part of my life. However, after listening to your podcast, I found myself going through photos and videos of my children when they were younger with a slightly different viewpoint. I realized how incredibly lucky I was to be able to spend that time with my children and have the relationship I do now with them now as teenagers. I think your podcast is so important as there is too little information, entertainment regarding positive male role models compared to the onslaught of toxicity out there. You guys are awesome, as is my sister-in-law. Take care of yourselves, and thank you again, Rick Beasley. Thank you, Rick.
Thanks, Rick. That is lovely. That means a lot. It's a lot being any stay-at-home parent. It's hard work. You're doing God's work, Rick. I haven't been a stay-at-home parent, but I have done a long period of maternity leave, and I found it awfully lonely. So
yeah, thank you, Rick. And I think that amongst the loads of messages, it's just really nice to know that I think when you're parenting, it can be isolating and difficult, and you find that you're just doing it by yourself, and the fact that we're being able to, I guess, be a friend and another voice, and let people know they're not alone, and reflect their reality back to them, and help to bring on an interest in people that have, like, research and insights. So incredible feedback. What about feedback you've got, Joeli? What's it saying?
I have a number of male friends who've had a really hard time recently. They're all dads, and they are the ones, I would say, who have been messaging me the most, saying how much this podcast has meant to them, because they want to be the best fathers they can possibly be, but they also have had mental health struggles and are now wrestling with these stereotypes and this feeling that they need to not express their emotions because that's not what men do, coupled with the fact that they know they're really struggling and how they deal with it, and they found the podcast really helpful. So, that's been lovely. I think people have been crying out for this content for a really long time. So we have got a cracking season coming up.
We have.
We're going to change the format.
We're going weekly, baby. We're basically part of your lives now.
This is it. Yeah. You're going to have to set your reminders. Every Tuesday, we want you tuning in. We want to know what you think. It and I are going to have to do a lot more thinking, a lot more talking.
Yeah, you're going to see me every week, Joeli.
I know. I'm looking forward to that. How do you feel about that? I'm looking forward to that. I mean, I just see my family mostly every single day. And then you and Kaylee.
I'm looking forward to seeing you and Kaylee every week. No, we're going weekly, and I'm so excited about this. We're going to have an interview with an amazing special guest 1 week where we delve into their expertise. They'll talk about sex, they'll talk about masculinity, all the issues that we're interested in and you're interested in. And the other week, me and Joeli are going to be chewing the fat, talking about reflecting on that guest's input and views and research. We're going to be talking about current affairs, what's going on in our own lives that is relevant. And also, importantly, we're going to be answering our audience questions as well. So please do write to us, tobeaboyteam@gmail.com. We want to hear your questions, your suggestions, your reflections. We're going to make time to talk about all the things that you're interested in. So let us know like what you want us to talk about, any questions you have for us. Do our best to answer them all.
And the guests we have got coming up, I mean, even I am impressed with what we've got coming up. We've got, are you ready for this? Caitlin Moran. I mean, who needs no introduction, really, does she? But she's obviously written a book called What About Men, and also is just bloody hilarious. We've got Josh Sargent, who is a 15-year-old boy who is writing a book about red pill culture. So Josh says he became interested in masculinity influencers, found a lot of the content really useful and really helpful and really positive. But after a while of navigating that world, realized and became aware of all the toxicity and all the toxic messages he was receiving, and is now trying to distill that into a book to help parents and help teachers understand how to help kids like him navigate this online world. I mean, does he want to be any much of an overachiever, like 15-year-old
15
writing a book? Can't wait to talk
I was
to
like
him.
drinking alcohol behind the bike shed and
2020 bottles of 2020. Oh, you're quite a bit younger than me. Bottle of hooch.
2020, yeah.
Do you have 2020?
What was it? White lightning.
White lightning. 2020. Bottles of hooch, but I moved to Newcastle when I was 18, so I have to say bottle of hooch.
Bottle of hooch. Bacardi Breezers. Remember Bacardi Breezers?
Breezers, yeah.
Bacardi Breezer,
all
man.
the Alka Pops.
Going out, having 2 hooches and a Bacardi Breezer, that's it. Like, good night.
Yeah, not all day drinking like you were yesterday. Now you're a grown up. We've got coming on the Secretary of State for Science, Innovation and Technology, Peter Kyle. So we're going to be asking him questions about what the government is doing about the challenges that kids are facing in the online world. Send us your questions for that. We really want to know what you want to ask Peter Kyle and what you want him to do.
We have had I've had a comment come to me about, how can we challenge what the social media companies are doing? Because obviously there's a space for parents. Of course, we can regulate what our children are doing. I'm looking forward to that episode. It's going to be a cracker.
My son wants me to ask him if he's allowed to get a phone at 12. And he said, if he says yes, then I have to get him a phone. So,
but you can get him an old Nokia with Snake on it.
He's already got one. He's already got that.
He's got a brick phone already.
He wants a smartphone. So Peter Cal, say no. We've got Jessica Leahy, who's going to talk about addiction and how to ensure that you reduce the chance of your son becoming addicted to anything. We've got Stephen Biddulph, who is
the legend.
Don, and he wrote the original book, How to Raise Boys.
Can we just take a second to really like take this in? Steve Biddulph is the legend, and the way he speaks is a masterclass in storytelling and emotion. I guarantee you'll be in tears for this episode. Like, have the tissues ready, because Steve, he caught me, I was just like going about my day, thought I was going to record a podcast. Why am I in tears? Listen to Steve Biddulph talking about raising boys, please. Like, I wasn't prepared for this.
Yeah, like, it was a moment.
That episode, I can't wait for people to hear it. He's incredible.
And he has just he has one of those voices that is just stops you in your tracks. And so he's not only full of wisdom and hope and thoughtfulness, but he also has one of those voices where you just want to just put it as close to your ear as possible and snuggle up with a nice cup of tea. Yeah.
Bedtime story voicing.
Then we've got Uju Asika, who has written the book Raising Boys Who Do Better. Very much looking forward to interviewing her. We've got Future Men, who are a brilliant charity who work with kids in schools, and they know a lot about what is happening to our kids, basically what is happening to boys. We've got Ben Hurst and Dan Guinness from Beyond Equality, that is a glorious interview. They work with kids in schools. They have been in and out of government recently, talking to the government about what they should do. They just, again, have so much wisdom. And lots more. We may, as we did with the first series, if things happen, we may jazz it up a bit with a little bonus episode to talk about a specific issue. It's going to be a cracker. I'm dead excited.
It is. So thank you so much. We appreciate you. We love you. Thank you for listening. This is To Be a Boy podcast. We're going to see you next week. See ya.
I'm a transformation director with 15 years experience helping businesses make major change. I bring a deep understanding of problem solving, trend analysis, and stakeholder engagement. I'm able to operate at both executive and team level. I'm personable and pragmatic with a huge passion for my work.
Pregnancy and maternity discrimination shreds the careers of 74,000 women every year. At Pregnant Then Screwed, we can stop it. Visit careershredder.com to show your support.